Okay, so now we're going to talk about hooping your fabric. Hooping is a really critical part of the embroidery process because you need to get your fabric onto a hoop in order to load it onto the machine and keep it tight while it is embroidering. So we have 3 hoops available to you. This one is the M1, this one is the M2, and this one is the M3. So what you'll notice is that as the numbers get bigger, the hoops get smaller. So that's just really important to keep in mind so that you don't get confused because we're used to bigger numbers meaning bigger things. So the M1 is obviously the largest, and this is something that you would probably use if you were doing a shirt or a jacket or a big bag or something like that. The M2 is kind of the standard hoop for monogramming. It's a good size to put kind of a name on something like that. And the M1 is a nice small hoop for doing maybe just initials or small patches or badges that you might be doing. So we've got all of these hoops, but we're going to focus in on the M2 today, but you can ask for whichever one you need when you're doing your embroidery project in order to match up with the size. Make sure that your embroidery design is going to fit inside of the hoop that you choose. If it doesn't, then it's not going to work out. Each hoop has 3 things. So I'm going to undo this screw here so that you can see them. The first one is the back of the hoop. And then you have the hoop itself with the metal arms here. And then you have this plastic insert that gives you the grid. This grid will match what you'll see on the machine so that you can position your design correctly. You'll want to mark your fabric with the center of where you want the design to be, and then you can match it up with those center lines when you are hooping it. We're not going to do that today because we're just doing the practice project, which is using scrap fabric to monogram your name. But these 3 things should be with each hoop. The other thing that you want to note is the arrows on the hoop. So that might be really difficult to see on the video there, but there is that little arrow there. And then on here, there's an arrow here and here. Those arrows should always be pointing in the same direction, and they should point towards the machine when you load it, which we'll talk about later. Okay, so let's go ahead and hoop. We need our fabric. So I'm just going to take this scrap fabric, and this is what you will do for your project. You'll just take some scrap fabric that we have in the library, and you'll just cut a piece that is about the same size as your hoop, with enough room to come out the edges so that you can pull it tight. Now, obviously, this is a lot more difficult when you are actually doing a garment or a bag or something like that because you have to be much more exact and you can't just hack off a piece like I did there. But for your practice, that's all you need. Then you need your stabilizer. The stabilizer is going to go underneath and help to hold the stitches in place. This is tearaway stabilizer. We have this for you at the library for free, like I talked about in the last video. But remember, if you want something different than tearaway stabilizer, then you need to bring your own. So I'm just going to measure out a piece that's about the same size and just rip it off. Okay, so stabilizer is going to go down first. Stabilizer goes on the back of the hoop first so that it's underneath. Sometimes people get confused and they want to put the stabilizer on top, but it needs to go on the bottom. Then you're going to take your fabric or your garment, whatever it is, and you're going to put that down there like that. And then take your hoop, you're going to position it inside of the back hoop. Okay, so you might have to kind of feel around, and then you're going to push down. Now, depending on the thickness of your fabric and stabilizer combined, you may need to loosen up this screw a little bit to get it to go down all the way. And then once you've kind of got it where you want, you'll need to tighten that screw down to make sure that it's nice and tight and pull on your fabric to tighten it up in the hoop. And it's a constant process kind of going backwards and forwards. Sometimes it will pop out of the hoop. Sometimes you'll have to push it back down as it comes up, but you try and get that tight as you can. And you're going for what they call drum tight. So just kind of play a little tune on it to see how tight you've got it. Your first couple times you probably won't get it very tight, and that's okay. This is practice, so don't worry too much about it. But do recognize that hooping can take some significant time, particularly if you're doing something complicated like a shirt or a bag where there's multiple layers going on. You want to make sure that you only get the layer that you're going to stitch onto so that you don't end up sewing those 2 pieces together. So you would then also put your guide in, making sure the arrows are pointing the same way on the guide and the hoop, and then you would line up where you want it to be. And you're just going to go back and forth until you get that right. Hooping can take a significant amount of time, so just make sure that you allow for that when you make your reservation, that you have enough time to hoop your fabric. Okay, so that's hooping. Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to start looking at the machine.